ball with.
Welcome to episode 13 of the Predictors podcast, Health Matters, recorded on December 4th, 2024. I'm your host, Jay Rock, and as always, I'm joined by the all-star crew, Dr. Preventure, expert orthopedic doctor of the Patriots, head surgeon who's seen it all when it comes to injury recovery, the one and only GOAT Zajac, and our prediction whiz, Nate Dogg. We're diving into the big takeaways from week 13 and looking towards week 14. But before we get into that, let's kick things off with the Rod Zone. Welcome to the Rod Zone. We got a lot of great hits for you guys. I got to throw it straight to the CFB. The Gamecocks have a generational talent with Lenora Sellers, and we were able to get a big win against Clemson on Saturday in Death Valley. Unfortunately, the committee doesn't want to seem to give us the playoff seed that we deserve, but we're coming back harder than Clowney did against Michigan next season. Heading straight over to the NFL, the Bills clinched the AFC East and won a snowy game against a hurting 49ers team. The 49ers would need to win all 5 of their next games to make it to playoffs, and it's safe to say that they will not be the Super Bowl runner-ups next season. And even though he has lost his 2 last games against the Chiefs and the Bucs, Bryce Young is showing that he can be QB1 for the Panthers. Joe Burrows is playing one of the best seasons of his entire life, but the Bengals just can't seem to bring home dubs for Cincinnati. The Eagles beating the Ravens put them at their 8th consecutive win, and the Bears and the Raiders could have been in fantastic positions over Thanksgiving weekend had they taken and made the field goals, but that play call just didn't come down from the top. Kirk Cousins was throwing interceptions like it was his job in the Falcons' 13-17 loss to the Chargers, and Cooper Rush and the Cowboys got a clutch win against the Giants and the newly crowned QB1 Drew Lock. Daniel Jones has since taken his talents to the Vikings practice squad, but may have a different move in mind moving forward. Let's get right into the new injuries of the week. Jumping into the impact injuries that are coming up and cropping up this week, Tyler, I'm going to throw it straight to you. We've been talking about him for the past couple of weeks, and he's definitely been on the radar for the entire season. Christian McCaffrey, 49ers running back. Tyler, how's he looking? Did the German intervention not do anything for him?
Well, unfortunately for Christian McCaffrey, it's a different injury. If you're anything like myself and you thought you'd get Christian McCaffrey back to make a great playoff push in fantasy, that will not be the case. He was just placed on IR with a PCL sprain. This is something that's going to take 6 weeks minimum for him to get back on the field and could even be season ending depending on the 49ers season turns out. It will be season ending for fantasy. Doc, I got to throw this to you. You've dealt with PCL sprains in NFL players and specifically running backs. This is a tough injury to return from. Of course, anything ligamentous. You know, what can you tell us about this and what's his next season going to look like if he doesn't make it back this season?
Tyler, the PCL is the ligament in the knee that's opposite to the ACL, posterior cruciate ligament, the ligament that's in the back of the knee. And if you look in the front of the knee, which is right here, here's your kneecap. We're going to peel that away. You can see the ACL that's in here. Well, it's not his ACL, it's his PCL. And it looks like Christian injured this when he was making a tackle or got tackled. Something happened and his tibia came down. Usually it's a direct blow on the tibia. When that direct blow happens, you injure this PCL ligament, which stretches, strains, and there's 3 different types. And we've actually published on this quite a bit, looking at NFL players and how they do with their ligament injuries, especially PCL. What's interesting about the PCL, unlike the ACL, all ACLs are treated surgically for the most part. PCLs, about 2/3 in the NFL are treated non-surgically. The other thing is 20% of all PCL injuries are in running backs, 20% are in linemen. So those are the top 2 positions. Obviously, Christian's one of those positions. What we also found is it's anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks, depending on the magnitude of the PCL sprain, to get him back to even ramp up. So, Tyler, I'm with you on this one. I don't think we're seeing Christian back this season.
Looks like Christian McCaffrey may be done for the season. That's not going to be good for a lot of people's fantasy teams. Moving straight over to the Eagles, we got Dallas Goedert, tight end for the Eagles, coming off of a knee injury from this weekend. The Eagles are contemplating putting him on possibly a short-term IR. His season is not necessarily over on paper, but that is kind of what it could be gearing towards. And he did have a hamstring injury earlier in the season. Doc, when we're looking at someone like Dallas Goedert, the Eagles are rolling right now. They are more than likely going to be in the playoffs. Is this something where they need to just hold him off until playoffs and see where that goes?
J-Rock, 100%. Let's get this knee rested. Let's get it better. The problem with Goddard is he's got this hamstring, which complicates the overall knee. And when you see a hamstring in the same season, guess what? You also get other injuries, especially the knee and the ankle. It's just your mechanics aren't optimized. Our data, again, the Predictors shows this over and over. Hamstrings are a problem, and he had that earlier, and now he's got the knee issue. So we'll see what exactly that looks like. It's probably enough, meaning a sprain, cartilage, and or small meniscus tear. We'll wait and see the final injury pattern and what this looks like, but I'd expect him back in playoffs, and they should rest him.
Sounds like a plan to me. And while Dallas is out, Grant Calcaterra will be stepping out as the tight end for the Eagles. Moving right over to the 49ers, we're looking at Jordan Mason. Tyler, give the people a little bit on Jordan Mason. How's he looking?
Yeah, well, as you know, Jordan Mason was Christian McCaffrey's backup and played in the majority of the beginning of the season when CMC was out. He has an ankle sprain, and it is severe enough that they moved him to IR as well, which means that now all of that ball carrying will fall on, or the primary ball carrying will fall on Isaac Guerendo, the rookie. Good news for the 49ers is that when Isaac has been on the field, he has shown out. He had a game with 99 yards. He also had a game with 85 yards and a touchdown. So he is a good replacement, but of course, Jordan Mason was a bruising type running back, and CMC, we all know what he can do. So still a step down, but hopefully Isaac can move the ball down the field with that offense.
Thanks for that. The 49ers are hurting, and that's a crazy way to come off of a Super Bowl runner-up. Nate, going straight to Trevor Lawrence, he was already dealing with the left shoulder. Coming into that game, he was all smiles, ready to do it. What happened in there?
Yeah, J-Rock. T-Law, he took a big hit from Azeez Al-Shaair, and so they had to move him to IR because of this. And as a result, Azeez is going to be on a 3-game suspension. And they did try to appeal this, which was denied about 30 minutes ago. So, Zajac, do you think that the punishment fits the crime?
That's a loaded question, Nate. I think that the NFL needs to do a better job in being more consistent with their suspensions. Azeez has had some stuff in the past, which I understand that's why they gave him 3 games, but I don't think this necessarily deserves 3 games. I think that defenses have the hardest job out there on the football field because of the speed that game is played at now. I do think that Trevor Lawrence slid a little bit late, and defenses are making these split decisions when they go to tackle quarterbacks. We've seen Patrick Mahomes get around the side on the sideline because guys didn't want to hit him late, and he used it to his advantage. So I think the problem is in the rule book, and the NFL needs to take a look at that. They either need to start fining offensive players for sliding late, or they need to say, once you're out of the pocket and you decide to run, you are a ball carrier and you can be hit, and that's just how it is. Otherwise, from right now, the way the rule is, I get it. I know why they suspended him. I think 3 games is a little bit much, though.
Yeah, just looking at that hit, honestly, it's very difficult at the speed of the game to both say, okay, I think he's going to go down for the slide. I think he's going to end the play. But there's really no indication that Trevor Lawrence wasn't trying to just take that to the house. Before you see the slide, you have to assume as the defense that he is going to try to run it to the crib. So he was just doing, in my opinion, what a defender does. Any other ball carrier, that's a nice hip tackle. Like, that's a low, safe hip tackle. And I think the initiation of the slide, the initiation of the tackle were just so simultaneous that it did look really bad. But when you just really think of the speed of the game, it's kind of hard to say that it was as dirty as it was. But he's out for 3 games, and Trevor Lawrence may be out for more. Looking at Taysom Hill of the Saints. Nate, how's he looking? It looks like he might have torn his ACL.
Yeah, torn ACL. He'll be done for the season. This is our 29th torn ACL of the NFL season this year. Doc, Taysom Hill is a human Swiss Army knife for the Saints. They need him badly. They want to have a good season. Do you think this will affect the start of next season?
What we see, and again, our data at the Predictors, is this is generally about 9 months to really get back to NFL activities and really get back to the field. Now, that's plus or minus 4 weeks, 6 weeks on either side. And we've had some people, it's taken 11, 12, 14, 16 months. If you look at David Bakhtiari, I mean, it took him year plus 14, 16 months and you need another scope. So it really depends what's going on his knee. As long as you end up with just kind of a clean ACL and your meniscus and cartilage is reasonable, you're on that shorter side of 9 months, maybe a little less, maybe 8. But if you got a bunch of other things going on, Bakhtiari is a great example, cartilage, meniscus, ACL, other things, it just takes much longer to get that knee and your confidence back to get to the field.
So looking towards a couple of important players that will be playing through injury in Week 14. First up, we got Bucky Irving, running back for the Buccaneers. Nate, how's he looking? Do you think he's going to play a good game?
Yeah, so he left the game briefly due to this hip injury at the end of the first half, but came back and ended up finishing with 185 total yards plus a touchdown. So obviously he's really important for this team. And, the Bucs are 6-6. They're second in the NFC South. They need to win some games if they want to make a playoff push. So hopefully he can get better. Doc, do you have any tips on what kind of therapy, what he needs to do to get better for the rest of the season?
Yeah, the hip can be tricky depending on what structures is actually injured. But what we're seeing, it's probably the capsule and some of the muscles right around the joint. The key there is working obviously on flexibility, pain-free motion, stretching, making sure that you have really good proprioception, which is knowing where your joint is in space in a split second. And that's really about fast training modalities, plyometrics, other things, which are super important. So he's going to do all of that, may even be supplemented with some injections if there's something going on in the joint, which can help. So we'll keep an eye on this closely as the Bucs need him.
All right, and just looking over to the Chargers, we got Ladd McConkey, wide receiver for the Chargers. Tyler, how's he looking, and do you think he will be playing this week?
Well, J-Rock, I have doubts that he's going to play this week, to be honest. He's been dealing with an AC joint injury, but picked up this knee sprain. The team's being a little bit broad about the injury, so I think it's something we're going to have to watch over the week. The practice report, see if he's out there, see if he's doing anything in practice. When asked, Coach Harbaugh said, "We'll see," when they asked if he was going to play, which doesn't help us much. Ian Rappaport was able to give a little bit more, saying that Sunday's in doubt. But neither injury, the AC nor the knee, was major. What we've seen from the predictors.com, when a player has a knee sprain and it's just labeled as a knee sprain, they usually miss at least 1 to 2 games, which is why I'm a little doubtful that he's going to be on the field this week. However, with that said, Ladd McConkey is a massive part of that offense. He's been in that wide receiver 1 position this year because Quentin Johnson hasn't lived up to it. And so he is a huge part. The Chargers are 8-4, and if the playoffs started and the regular season ended today, they would be in the playoffs. So, but they have not clinched that quite yet. So they play Kansas City Sunday night, who are just above them in the AFC West. And they've already clinched a playoff berth. So this is a big game for the Chargers. They're really going to want to win. So if Ladd McConkey has any chance to be out there, I think they'll find a way. But if that knee sprain is bad enough, we won't see him out there.
Thanks for that information on the Ladd. Hopefully he can get in and do something for the Chargers against Kansas City. If it's more responsible for him to hang out and watch that game from the sidelines and look towards the future of the team, then they'll have to do that. And with that, I think it's time to head over to the bus stop and see what really matters with health. Go! Looking at the bus stop right now, Tyler, I know you got the numbers. I know you got the data. Give the people a little bit of insight. Who looks like they should be doing better as far as health goes?
Well, the Bears are closer to the top, as are the Vikings.
Yeah.
Both of those teams have had some near very close wins or very close losses. So, health plays a big part in that. What we can see is what we talked about last week, J-Rock. That split is starting to happen. A lot of the teams at the top, the Eagles, the Bills, the Steelers, the Rams, the Packers, they all have a chance to make the playoffs or are already in the playoffs. Whereas when you look at the bottom, you have teams like Jacksonville, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Panthers, the Titans, the Raiders. They're on that bottom half. And those are the teams that obviously aren't looking so hot for the playoffs. So you start to see that split. It really shows you how important health is. Of course, the Detroit Lions, they are at the bottom right now outside of, these bye week teams. They're last here with their defensive issues, but they're still making it. But even with them, you look at that Chicago game they just played. That was a near victory. How much could they have won by had they had a healthy team? It took some bad play calling, bad timeout management by the Bears.
That should not have been a close. That shouldn't have been a close game, Tyler. And you look. Here's where the split happens. I got to tell you, I'm super worried about the Lions, and I want them to do well. I mean, they have such a great season.
Yeah.
But you know what? Health matters, and they are so low on our bus score. Their entire defense is decimated. Nate, how many on IR?
18.
18 Lions on IR. It's wild, Tyler. I mean, this is when we really start to see it right about now. And stay tuned next week because we're going to have even more of a breakout. We're going to watch those Lions. We're going to watch a few of these others. You got the Chargers not doing that great as well. And any of these other teams that are just on the edge. Miami Dolphins, probably not. But these teams that still have a prayer, they're beat up.
Well, Doc, you say health matters and timing matters. You get injured at the wrong time in the season, the 49ers, the Detroit Lions, could change your whole playoff picture.
Yep. I'm worried about the Lions.
Hopefully the Lions can pull it out. They've been a great team to watch, but as we know, health matters. So thanks for hanging out with us this week on the Health Matters Predictors podcast. We've covered all the important takeaways from week 13, and now we're looking ahead to the action coming in week 14. The NFL season is heating up, and the excitement keeps on coming, so buckle up. Trevor Lawrence may be out for the season. Christian McCaffrey possibly out for the season. And if the 49ers don't get it together, the Super Bowl runner-ups may be out for the season as well. Be sure to join us next week for more expert insights, bold predictions, and all-around elite vibes. Until then, stay locked in and may your parlays bring you the best results. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at the Predictors_, and check out our website, thepredictors.com, for everything NFL. Every week is a new chance to level up and trust the bus. We'll catch you next time. Go!